Hello, everybody. It's the return of the Luke Sherwin. He's back. He's
Yeah,
alive. Thank
yeah.
goodness.
It's
Wow.
nice to be back, Joe. And what a night to be back for. The
Oh
European
my
Championships
goodness.
semi-finals are over. Wow.
Oh wow.
Exhausting.
Two unbelievable games.
You're
Two
right.
unbelievable games. I want to mainly focus on the England game, to be honest. We can talk about the Spain League game at the end, but I
Yeah.
really want to. There's so many things that have come up for me in the England game today and in the recent games we haven't really had a chance to talk about properly
Yeah,
that I think are worth highlighting before the final.
absolutely.
But yeah, how are you doing? How are things?
Yes, good. But after watching that game of football, pretty nuts. So obviously, on record, several times I've said about my love for Denmark and my desire to see them win the European Championships. And tonight,
Yeah,
I think they can be proud of how far they got. We predicted them to get to the semi-finals in our
we
predictor
did.
because we're
We did.
geniuses.
Yeah.
But I think, they've done themselves proud in this tournament. Had Christian Eriksen been playing, things might have been a little bit different. Second half tonight, they kind of took off all their key players and didn't really look great. But I thought they did themselves proud in the first half. So a really good game of football, really entertaining to watch. England progress.
Yeah, I think obviously we called an England-Denmark semi-final and we said that England would win. It's nice to feel vindicated. It's nice to
It is.
go, we got something right. People thought we were silly. They thought we were crazy. We've gone on, we were right all along. Today's game was fascinating. I thought, personally, that Denmark gave England their toughest game this competition so far.
I think so.
I think they looked better than Germany did in the last 16. And that's not taken away from England's performance, because I thought England were still really good today. I actually thought they played some excellent football. Defensively, still really solid. The only two people for me who kind of looked nervous and the occasion kind of got to them, for me, were Pickford and Calvin Phillips. I thought Calvin Phillips, certainly in the first half, looked a bit poor, and Pickford was making quite a few mistakes.
I think you could argue Declan Rice as well in the same sort of vein, and that probably just comes from the fact that you've got three players there who aren't playing Champions League football often, and so this type of occasion is quite big for them. It's not any harm on the clubs that they play for; it's just fact. Passing from both the defensive midfielders was fine, but their ground duels weren't quite as good today. Rice only completed one of the six, ground duels that he attempted. He lost possession 6 times. Phillips lost possession 13 times and only won 4 of 9 ground duels. They didn't quite have the same sort of impact as they would have done in previous games. There's Andy saying, "Nice to see you, Luke." Thanks, Andy. That's just a lie. Thankfully, I'm not that hot. Don't have a fever, so it's all good. But yes, lovely to be back. So I think Phillips and Rice didn't have the same quality of game as they usually would. And Pickford tonight, not a fan.
No, I think he was nervous. And what worries me especially is with him now going to a final, Pickford clearly has a confidence issue, as you talked about, in not playing the Champions League. He has looked very, very good this competition. I hate the agenda against Pickford. I'm not a big fan of people picking on his mistakes and not looking at how well he's been. And I think that in this tournament, I think Pickford's been outstanding. He's made some really excellent saves. Yes, he's helped with an excellent defence in front of him. Don't get me wrong at all. That really helps him out and probably gives him a lot of confidence too. But today, I think the occasion maybe got to him a wee bit. And I think he looked really, really nervous. Nervous.
I think he did, and even the commentator mentioned that his kicking is normally really good, and it wasn't very good tonight. I thought he was rushing things. He's making such a meal out of what was quite simple, largely. Andy there saying it's going to be such a good final. I don't think I agree. I don't think the final is going to be that good. It's going to be really tense, I think.
Yeah.
And I'm not expecting a massive attacking performance from either team. So we could see very much a 0-0 or a 1-0 or something like that. Italy are going to look so dangerous in the counter-attack. I don't think they will. Italy going forward aren't great. And they've shown that in this tournament. They've shown that they can score goals when they need to, but not a lot of them. Even in the group stage, didn't score that many compared to who they were playing. Against Belgium, only scored... not against Belgium. Against Belgium, they only scored one. And it was a fortunate goal, that Hazard kind of hit. And even in the last game there against Spain, it was kind of a frustrating one. So I'm not massively backing Italy to have a good attack, but then again, I'm not massively backing England to have a good attack either, because they've shown their inconsistencies at times. But yeah, I guess we should talk about what England actually played tonight. We go into a game where they conceded first.
Yes, and I saw a post there that actually... let's not take away from the fact that it was an unbelievable free kick. Okay, absolutely beautiful.
Mikey.
Good evening, Maggie. But by the letter of the law, that free kick actually shouldn't have stood, because the Danish wall that they formed is supposed to be a metre away from the English wall, and it was not. And it was not. So technically, very, very technically, by the letter of the law, it shouldn't have stood. However, let's not take away from the fact that it was a great free kick that people were saying Pickford maybe should have saved. I don't think he would have. I thought the power on it was, too much for him.
Yeah, and if anyone's wondering, Joe is available to come to your party and be a damn squib. Just if you want to come along, if you want him to come along, he can say no. You're not 1 meter away from each other. So he can be a social distancing enforcer. If you want to hire Joe McCormick, hashtag StattoJoe for your parties. Just hit me up, drop into my DMs. That's a request I've made several times.
You should see me at work. If a child dares get too close to me, I'm like, no.
Shocking.
Be gone. Be gone.
Sorry, you hurt yourself? Oh dear, get away from me. So yeah, Joe's available for that. But the free kick was nice. It wasn't well saved by Pickford. It wasn't that far away from Pickford. It was nowhere near the corner. It was nowhere near the corner. I reckon another keeper could have saved that. Not to take away from the fact it was lovely. It was well hit. Damsgaard, again, increasing his value, increasing his likelihood of potentially getting a transfer. Only signed last year for 7 million and is only 21 years old. Would be a risk. I think he's the type of player who has done well in this tournament, but maybe wouldn't automatically turn it on if he was to get a big transfer away. A transfer maybe to a slightly smaller side before a big side might be helpful. You look at James Rodriguez, for example, had an unbelievable World Cup 2014 and then moved to Real Madrid and never really did anything after that. I hope this doesn't happen to him. I hope he kind of gets a move or else stays where he is for a year, tries to prove it in the league he's in, and then get a move away from there.
So obviously Denmark scored first. Didn't take long for England to reply. They actually had a chance just before their goal that was a mixture of a good save and a poor shot from Sterling. Just headed straight to the keeper. And then about a minute later, they went on and scored. It was one of those own goals where if he hadn't have been there, it would have been a goal anyway. It wasn't like a calamitous thing. It was a very well-worked goal by England. Some great football. And Sterling looked like he was going to score again. He just seems to find himself in the right positions.
Story of England's tournament so far has been, Sterling has been relatively average most of the game, but then has got up in good positions and scored some goals. And tonight, I thought he was largely average until he scored the goal. And I will give him some credit. I thought he probably had the game of his tournament and actually played well. At the end was very professional, knew when to dribble, knew when to pass, and just went about things like he should have gone about them. So I was pleased for him and impressed with his performance there.
Yeah, one thing I've noticed as well, I think it's really important to highlight this, is the frame Harry Kane has now been given. So, in the group stage games, Harry Kane was clearly told to play as an out-and-out centre forward, told to stay up, told to be the last man. since the Germany game, he has been given so much more freedom. He's picked the ball up in his own half multiple times, has been a playmaker for England, has been someone the play has gone through, and the difference in that England attack, they look more threatening up front. Now,
Yeah.
we talked before about, did they deliberately hold their good play during the group stages because they thought we're going to get through a group anyway. It's just all about getting to that knockout stage. Part of me does think this was a deliberate tactic. I really do, because surely there's no way it would take Southgate 3 games to work out what works for Kane. He's watched Kane all season. He's seen how good Kane has been for Spurs playing that holding role. And I do think, based on some stories I've heard from the radio and some journalists here deep in the England camp, I think Southgate is far smarter than he appears.
Yeah, I think that's come out recently by most people on Twitter recently, which is massive for Southgate. Fair play. He seems to have won over Twitter, which is impressive. But people saying, yeah, it makes sense actually now that Southgate's the one getting paid by the FA to manage England, because he does actually know what he's doing, which is strange because you wouldn't have said so before. But I think he is a really intelligent man. I've got to give him some credit. Tactically, still, I'm not 100% sure. But then again, if he gets results, he gets results. Do you know my dad keeps saying? He's like, they're winning.
Yeah.
That's all that matters in tournament football. And you're right. In club football, if you're watching it week in, week out, you want attractive football as well.
Yeah.
But in European and World Cup football, if he goes on to win the European Championships, nobody's going to talk about how they drew against Scotland.
One of the things as well that I think he does, and we spoke about that in commentary, how England haven't changed their starting 11 or haven't had the same starting 11 in 3 years, right, between consecutive games. I think there's two things there. One is that he likes kind of chopping and changing, as just in general. But the other thing is, if you're an opposition team waiting to play England, you're not 100% sure who you're going up against.
Mm-hmm.
And Southgate is confident enough in the players that he has. So in those wing positions, right, we've seen Saka, we've seen Sterling, and we've seen Sancho all start on the right.
And Foden.
Euros. And Foden as well. Well, Sterling probably start on the left, actually, then Foden start on the right. So you've seen 3 or 4 different players play on the right-hand side for England, right? And you've seen Sterling on the left, Grealish on the left, and Rashford on the left for England as well. So it means it's very difficult for you to know as a team going into the game, who is Southgate going to start? He'll know. He has a plan. He'll know who works best. I think Saka's maybe picked tonight for the fact that he's a bit more defensively minded and, has played right wing back, so he's going to track back and was always that extra level of cover.
But I also think Saka just goes forward. I love it about him. Like the first goal was all Saka. His just wee run. Kane did brilliantly to find him, absolutely, but the wee run that Saka made, opened up that entirely and forced the Danish defence to do something and ultimately forced the goal. Sterling was in a good position, but it was all Saka.
Yeah, and I also think on that point on the right-hand side, I hate to say it, but Kyle Walker was really good tonight.
No, I disagree. I can't say that. Can't say that.
Defensively was so good. I thought he was really good tonight.
He did well. That's the thing with Kyle Walker, is that on his day he's rapid, so he will outpace anyone, and so he can look really good if you don't challenge him the right way. And I think Denmark's attack wasn't great this evening because Damsgaard was probably playing on the left, and he kept going in the middle to try and make things happen, and Mala didn't get enough time because of Saka, I think, and because of Kyle Walker as well. But because of that, Kyle Walker found it easy enough against Damsgaard, who's quite inexperienced at the same time. And so, it was a good enough performance from Kyle Walker. And then ultimately, towards the end, as he dropped into the 3 and Trippier came on, it was more of the same. Yeah.
Another thing as well is, yes, Denmark got their goal, but I think apart from the free kick, they never looked like they were going to score from open play. And again, England's defence has been so good this Euros.
Yeah, it really has. It pained me. It pained me because I wanted Denmark to win. I really did. and Dolberg had a couple of chances, but both of them were from the edge of the box. None of them were clear cut. None of them were shoe-ins that he was going to score. Other than that, set pieces were their only real opportunity, and I don't think they capitalised on that well enough. Nope. Westergaard wasn't hit from the set pieces, and they just didn't look like they were going to score at any time, especially after like the 60th minute. They made that sub. They made the subs to take off Dolberg, and they brought on Poulsen and Vass and Norgard in the 67th minute. And you see when they did that, that was it. That's when you knew Denmark either needed penalties or they were going out.
Yeah. And I mean, the last 15 minutes was all England, really, wasn't it? It was mad. Even that very, like, the last minute of the game and that scramble in the box, it was like, oh my, like, this is mad, total madness.
Yeah, and you see that in Denmark had one shot and one on target just in the second half entirely. Whereas England had 9 shots and 3 on target. Denmark were resolute. You got to give them credit. 5 at the back is hard to break down. Kasper Schmeichel is a phenomenal goalkeeper. Made a couple of ridiculous saves. That save from Harry Maguire's header was such a good save. And a couple of others here and there. I thought he had a really good performance. But Denmark were just sitting back and hoping for the best, but it didn't really look like it was ever going to happen.
Yeah, and fair play to Denmark. They reached the semi-final of the Euros, right? Which nobody had them down for apart from us, really. And ultimately, whilst probably England deserved to win the game on balance overall, they did win on a very, very dodgy penalty decision.
Yeah, they did. But it wasn't clear or obvious, so they weren't going to overturn it. And I think I can see why it was given. In normal time, it looked like a penalty. Yeah. And so the penalty decision was given. The ref didn't overturn it. And I'm not surprised. Clearly, something happened and Harry Kane missed the penalty. Some justification there, but a good rebound goal from Harry Kane.
I think in those situations, and I know this is maybe being quite fair to Sterling, but whenever you're running at full speed, the slightest touch can knock you down, right? And I think slow-mo often makes things look less than they are in real time. But it's one of those ones where, had it been given either way, we've spoken about this so many times in the podcast, right?
Yeah.
If it's not given, it's not going to get overturned. And if it is given, it's not going to get overturned because it's not a clear and obvious error. There's Mikey saying he's got a lot of sympathy for Denmark. What they've achieved is phenomenal, which is very, very true. Under the circumstances as well.
Thanks, Mikey.
Pen was so soft, but as Luke says, can see why. Amen. And then Andy says Denmark won the Miss Congeniality Award for the competition, which he might have said to me in person. It's a great line.
Pray for Andy. Pray for Andy. Denmark can be proud, and I think going forward, the World Cup is an exciting opportunity for them. As we've said countless times in this podcast, their qualifying campaign is off to an absolute flyer. 14 goals, none conceded so far. Mm-hmm. They're a solid side, and I'm excited to see what happens in World Cup qualifying. I'm excited to see how they do in Qatar. They've got some good young players. I would love to see some transfers happen for some of them. I would love to see them playing at the highest level, like a lot of them already are. But with Kasper Schmeichel at the back and Simon Kjær kind of leading the line alongside Christensen, you've got a really solid back three there that you can build upon with the likes of your Højbjerg and a few other players. And then up top, if you can get Kasper Dolberg playing week in, week out for a team or club side, and you can get him scoring goals with Mala and Strigger Larsen playing on either side. You've got a really, really good core, youthful core in that Danish side. So exciting to see what happens.
How do you think England tournament has gone for them? Obviously obviously just about the wins, but from a performance point of view, since the knockouts have begun, do you think we've seen England take things up to that next level, like performance-wise?
I think so. I think the experience at the highest level is shown through. I think Harry Kane has shown that he's a really, really good footballer in terms of mentally, as well as physically and technically being very good. He's a very good footballer. He knows what he's doing. And I think that, and even Sterling has shown his experience at the highest level. A Premier League winner, he's won lots of things with Man City. He knows how to do it. And even the likes of a Mason Mount, I think, is the under-the-radar player for England. A lot of people give him abuse. A lot of people say he's an average player. But when the going gets tough, Mason Mount gets going.
Yeah.
He really does. He gets back. He defends. He does everything so well. And so I respect him an awful lot.
Yeah. It's tough to call because obviously then last night we saw. I mean, I thought tonight's game was great. By the way, I thought it was excellent.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Fans were superb. The noise was just excellent. But then last night we had arguably an even better game between Italy and Spain. So exciting, so much going on in that game. I mean, I loved it. I thought it was class. I really did.
I thought it was a good game, yeah, but I think I enjoyed tonight's game more, but that's probably because I had more of a vested interest,
Yeah.
Well, I thought Spain were an interesting team yesterday. Shout out to our favourite pairing at the back, the Erics. You ask one of them, what's your name? Oh, I'm Eric. And then you ask the other one, oh, what's your name? He's like, oh, I'm Eric Garcia. Yeah. And it's the dream. We love them. We love those two playing beside each other. And I think Spain were good, passing a lot of passing, as always, with Spain. They never really looked like putting the ball in the net, though. Classic Spain, until Morata came on and somehow did it. But what a player Pedri is, eh?
Yeah, Pedri was fantastic last night. They rightly highlighted him at halftime, I think it was.
Yeah.
On BBC, and we're talking about the influence he had in the game. He just has that something. He's one of those players. He just has that something. And really I hope he can use his performances from the Euros to kick on. Then is it Barcelona he's at the minute?
To be fair, he's had a cracking season this season. Yeah. He played 52 games for Barca this season. He's 18 and he signed for 5 million, or something last season. He's a ridiculous player who's only going to get better. And in normal time, he had 100% pass completion. Over the course of 120 minutes, he made 65 of 67 passes. That is a crazy record for an 18-year-old. He's played every single game. He's played a lot of football, and he just looks a really exciting player. I can only imagine what he'd be like if you had David Villa or Fernando Torres in front of him.
It was just a really interesting game. I personally kind of feel like Italy almost got away with one. For the vast majority of the game, Spain were the better team, and I was very surprised because Spain, this tournament for me, never ever felt like they got going. I know they beat Slovakia 5-0, but it was a poor Slovakia team. Yeah. Start off with a Dubravka punched it into his own net. It was like he was trying to lose the game. Then the next game they scored 5 against Croatia, but they were 3-1 up, and they lost. They conceded 2 goals to take it the extra time. This Spain team, even including the game last night, had only won 1 game in 90 minutes.
Yeah.
All the rest of their games have been draws in 90 minutes. It's been a really weird competition for Spain. They stumbled through against Switzerland in the quarterfinals, but the way that they played last night, they played so much better, so much more expansive football.
Yeah.
They looked so much better, more attacking intent, all that kind of thing. The things that they were missing before, I was really impressed.
I think if I'm the Spanish FA, I'm going to be delighted with what Luis Enrique's managed to do with a team clearly in transition, a team who was never, touted to win the Euros. Nobody had them down to get to the semi-finals, because everybody's kind of saw them as a young and experimental team. Shout out really quickly to this terrible man. Glad that he didn't get any football. He's an awful footballer, but. Yeah, I think it was good to see, and Luis Enrique will be pleased with some performances. I think defensively they can improve, but that'll come. Jordi Alba I love the man, but as
Mhm.
soon as he's out of the team, the better, because he's never been able to defend.
Yeah.
So getting him out and getting the likes of your Marcus Llorente in at right back, a Gaia at left back alongside the Erics, you could have a really solid defensive line with
Mhm.
Rodri sitting in front, who's only going to get better as he plays more and more for Man City. Somebody alongside that, the likes of a Thiago or a Koke, and then a Pedri in front of that. Yeah, exciting times, I think, for Spain going forward. The World Cup will be a good test for them, but probably comes a little bit too soon. I think
Yeah.
maybe the next European Championships are when Spain can
Just
come.
next year's or 3 years' time.
Yeah, it's
They're,
really not that long away.
yeah.
You're right. And yeah, especially considering the World Cup is in a year and a half rather than
Yeah.
just a year. It'll be good experience for all these players, and there'll be more young players coming through La Masia, through various different sources, So I think it's exciting for Spain. But Italy did what they needed to do and kind of scumbaggered their way to the win.
Yeah, Italy. It was Italy. It wasn't Italy's best performance, and
When was their best
I know
performance?
this is the
Have they been
thing.
it?
This is the thing. The Belgium game was probably the best performance.
Yeah.
They stumbled against Austria. They did. They stumbled through against Austria. They kind of stumbled through again last night. But the thing is about the Italians, I always feel like they're going to get the job done. And this is the thing with the final. Yeah, they haven't been great, and their group was pretty easy. And they won. They kind of comfortably got through their group. And everybody's putting out their only team to have won every game, so far. But even I think England go in as favourites because it's at Wembley. There'll be the majority England fans. It's like a home game almost. But like part of me, just in the back of my head, I'm thinking, Italy get the job done.
They absolutely could. That's the
Yeah.
thing. But England are no longer a side that you think defensively are frail, or just generally are frail like you used to. And so they're not going to be rolled over. England aren't just going to sit back and let Italy get a goal and then not do anything about it. They have quality about them. And Italy, I don't think they've reached top gear yet.
No.
But I don't know if they can reach top gear.
Not with that front three.
I don't think they can. Everyone's been praising Insigne. I think he's been bang average the whole tournament, and finally scored his trademark goal. Well done for him, but I don't respect it.
I said that on Sunday. I was saying on Sunday when it was just me about if you're a defender, you're marking Insigne, just don't let him cut inside, right?
Honestly.
Just show him the line. He won't have a clue because
He won't.
he just all he does is he cuts inside and he shoots. And when it works, it looks amazing. But whenever it doesn't, it's just like average.
Yeah. You're right. But I'll give credit to Chiesa. I think Chiesa's the one bright spark in that team. Immobile's a great player, but he doesn't work in this system. I don't know what it is, and I just don't think the service is there. I think there's a certain way they want to play, and they don't have an attacking midfielder, and I think that is the main issue for Immobile. He doesn't have the good service. Chiesa's great, and if Berardi plays against England might as well just let him do whatever he wants, because there's not a hope he's putting the ball in the back of the net. Berardi is genuinely an awful player. I said last night when he came on, I was like, why on earth would you take off and play for him? And he missed 2 sitters within a couple of minutes, and I was like, see, absolutely not a hope. He's a terrible footballer. But yeah, I thought fascinating game. Italy got their goal very well taken by Chiesa. Spain equalised through Morata, but you see when Morata stood to take his penalty, I don't think anybody in the world believed that was going to go in.
You can kind of tell when someone's up for a penalty or not.
Yeah.
You just looked at his face and you're like, he's missing.
Yeah, 100%.
He's missing. And was it Italy who went first on the penalties?
Yeah, and missed.
When he stepped up, he's missing.
Locatelli stood up. Spain saved it. And immediately Danny Olmo decided, I'm going to put my foot absolutely through this, stick my head in the air and put my head nowhere over the ball. And it just went straight over the bar. It was a shocking penalty. He should be ashamed of himself.
Some say it's still going up. Some say it's still rising. The ball's still
in the
rising.
semi-finals of the European Championships, and he does that. That shows a player who's only moved to Europe to the top 5 leagues from January. He's a player who's been playing for Dinamo Zagreb, and there's been absolutely no pressure on him to do anything. He's come to Leipzig, he's done a decent job, but that was a showing that he needs more experience, and that's what Spain need generally, is a bit more experience about them. Some terrible penalties last night, some really, really bad penalties. Just like in the Spain-Switzerland game. Spain and Switzerland put on a shocker penalty shootout.
Worst penalty shootout I've ever seen, I think.
Yeah, genuinely. Really bad. It looked like nobody wanted to score. I was glad Busquets wasn't on the pitch last night for the penalty shootout. But yeah, I think Spain have a lot more to come. Italy, I don't know. Defensively, they're good, but they're old. Chiellini and Bonucci will be quaking in their boots at the thought of playing against Sterling and Saka. They're quick boys.
Yeah, like when Grealish comes on, like that'll just,
They're agile. Mason Mount has great footwork, and I think those two, they're experienced. They know what they're doing, but I think England could really exploit that. Also at left back, Emerson is not a good player compared to Spinazzola. He's just not the same. There's a reason he doesn't play for Chelsea. There's a reason he's third choice at Chelsea. He's not a good footballer. And Di Lorenzi's largely similar at right back.
Yeah.
So if I'm England, I am going proper English football, control the ball and stick it down the wings and get the ball into Kane. You want to, I reckon England's best chance is a few penalties off them. Just attack those fullbacks. Crosses into Kane might not work against two really good centre backs, but try and get foils. Get those fullbacks sent off. I don't know. I think that's the weak point in where England should attack.
Well, on Chiellini, Mikey mentions about Chiellini's antics there at the when they were doing the penalty shootout. I love that. He clearly loves, but he clearly just loves. He seems like a great guy, and B,
Chiellini,
he just seems like such a great guy. I thought that was good banter, to be perfectly honest.
I disagree. I don't think he's a good one at all.
Well, he doesn't have some sort of like law degree or something. He's a smart fella. Sorry, I just want to also go back to something that you mentioned, and I couldn't really get it in, but we're talking about Immobile, and for me, and we're saying about how he doesn't fit that system. It seems to me like Italy just don't have a centre forward, like that. They just don't have someone. I love that. That's so good. They don't have that number 9 that fits their system. Or they haven't found a way to make Immobile work in their system.
But what is their system?
I don't really know. I don't think they know either. And I don't think they know. But I think part of that comes from the fact that their front three, as a unit, don't work very well together. In the midfield, I think Verratti was okay last night. I thought Jorginho was also pretty good last night. But I think the problem is that there doesn't seem to be a link between the midfield and the front three. There doesn't seem to be that connection at all. And the good teams will always have some sort of connection between their midfielders and their either their wingers or their centre forward. And that's why bringing Harry Kane and working him playing into the midfield
with Mason Mount, as well, I think is so integral to that team.
Yeah. And I think that Immobile was rightly, well, maybe not rightly, but he was certainly pretty badly criticised after the Belgium game. People were saying like, fair play to Tim Italy for beating Belgium, all this kind of thing, because Immobile was basically AWOL. And he didn't do much again last night, but it's like, I don't think he's done much all tournament.
Yeah. I think Spinazzola was that player. Spinazzola was the player who was the link between defence and attack, but him being away has now caused real issues. Yeah.
So it's a really interesting one. I think, from my point of view, we're going to finish up here very, very, because we just want to do a short one, and then we just double check we straight after the final for another podcast. Yeah, perfect. So, just before we go, I want to do a quick, brief prediction for the final. Here's the thing for me. I tend to have zero confidence in England at all times. I actually was worried about this. I actually thought they might lose this game because I thought that there was a level of underestimating just how good Denmark actually are.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like we have never seen England achieve. This is England's biggest achievement since they won the World Cup in 1966, right?
Yeah.
So for us, the earliest tournament I can remember is 2006 World Cup properly. That's the one I can remember the
Me
most.
too.
Right?
Me too.
Ever since that tournament, England have either never looked like they were going to do well, or they've bottled, right? But, the Croatia game, 2018 World Cup, bit of a bottle job, right? So I pretty much have zero confidence in them, right? But at the same time, when I think about the Italy team, I'm like, yes, they're not great in terms of they seem to grind through results recently in the knockouts, right? They don't seem convincing. However, there's always something about the Italian team where you're like, you kind of feel like they're going to win. I put a poll up, as I have been doing every day on Instagram, on my Instagram story for Italy Spain, and 95% of people who voted on that had Italy down to win.
But I think that also is a testament to what Spain has been like at the same time. But yes, I get your point.
Yeah. So I found it really difficult to choose. I'm going to say right now, don't be surprised if it's definitely 0-0 after 90 minutes, and it's either 1-0 after extra time, or it goes to penalties. But I can't even call who wins. So for me, if it goes extra time, England win. But if it goes to penalties, I think Italy win.
Well, there's only one team that's put Denmark out of this competition, and it's England.
Yeah.
And so, Joe, frankly, it's coming home. England are going to win. They have to. If they don't win now, I'm never going back there, ever.
Well, back to England.
That's not true. I can't do that. I need to go to England, I think. So yeah, I think England will come out with the win. I think they've enough about them. Watching Italy, Spain, I thought was two very average teams playing against each other. England tonight, I thought, were professional, largely conceded one free kick goal, but other than that, went about their business like model professionals. I think I like what Southgate's done. I think he's done that slightly better than what Mancini has done. But then again, Donnarumma has never conceded more than one goal in an Italian shirt. That is frankly ridiculous. They're unbeaten in 33 games or something.
Yeah, that's the other thing I was going to mention as well.
Like that's a lot of not losses. And so when you get in the way of winning and you get in a mindset of always winning or not losing, penalties could be the one. Although based on their penalties last night, England actually could have a chance.
What was I going to say? I had one final point I wanted to make, and now it's totally left. It's totally left my brain.
That's okay.
So
on a side note, for anybody who's watching the Copa America at the moment, Brazil against Argentina. I don't know if you happened to see last night Messi to Yerry Mina. Did you see all that? Really enjoyed that from our Lionel, just because Yerry Mina scored a penalty in the last round and was doing a wee dance, and this time he missed his penalty and Messi shouting at him, "Do your dance," or "Where's your dancing ball?" Love that from our Messi.
Oh, good stuff. I still can't remember a point, which is really quite frustrating because I think it was a good one.
I'm sure it was, Joe.
But yeah, the last thing I just want to mention is who starts on the right for England.
Saka.
But Southgate's not keeping the same team. Absolutely no way. It's not happening.
You might.
No, I don't think he will.
Did he not keep the same team? Did he not keep the same team? No, he didn't.
He hasn't kept the same team in 3 years.
Did he not keep the same team between Croatia and thingy? No, or not Croatia, Czech Republic and Germany. No,
because he brought in. Did not bring in Saka for the Germany game.
Did Saka not play against Czech Republic?
Or maybe it wasn't Saka, but there was a defensive switch up. Did they not play 4 at the back instead of 5, or 5 at the back instead of 4? Something like that. There was a change. We could see different fullbacks or a different right back potentially, but I don't know if we will. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens. I think the crowd will have a massive, could have a massive impact on the game, and I think we've spoke about that from the very, very start, that home advantage will carry England through the tournament. And I've just remembered my point, and that was Do you agree with what Rio Ferdinand said last night when he said that watching the game between Italy and Spain, he felt that England would beat either of those teams? Straight away, just said he felt like England would beat either of them.
Yeah, I genuinely do. Based on how they played last night, I think I do agree with him. I was on Zoom with a couple of guys last night watching the game, and we all kind of felt that. We all felt that. I think they just didn't quite have enough about them. Italy didn't show enough. If I'm England's defense, I'm not really that concerned. I think England have enough players back to deal with little Insigne and his one trick that he can do. I think they've got Rice and Phillips here or there who'll deal with it, or they've got 14 right backs, so they'll be all right. But I think England on paper for me are favourites. That doesn't mean they'll win. Doesn't mean they'll win. But as Ben said here, it's coming home.
It's coming home. It's coming home. It's coming. Football's
So we're going to
coming.
get copyrighted.
Yeah, we are. Or we're also going to get cancelled by most Northern Irish people. So yeah, that'll do us for tonight. We would stay on longer, but I have work tomorrow. So it's getting quite late. I need to get home because I am actually currently, if you haven't worked out, I'm actually in Luke's room.
Yeah, it's pretty trippy, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm in Luke's room up in Belfast. I was round in his house where he's at home. I'm in his house tonight for some reason, watching football with the rest of his house. But yes, thank you so much for watching. Two excellent semi-finals, in my opinion. I think we were treated. Usually, semi-finals are sketchy. Usually, they are, tense. I think the final will be crap, but it's all about the occasion. The fans will pull through with some excellent singing. They'll boo the Italian national anthem, even though it's one of the best national anthems at the Euros. And as Mikey said, their love the football lads can't beat it. I said about 4 times tonight, I love football. And it's the first time I felt like that in quite a long time because having no fans there.
That's nice. And lots of Newcastle players renewed their contracts today, so I'm sure you're delighted as well.
Absolute things.
But yes, Joe, for now, 2 lovely semi-finals, 2 lovely men. StattoJoe podcasts get bigger and better. And we'll be back on Sunday after the final.
We'll be back immediately after the final for essentially Series 1, the Series 1 finale of the StattoJoe podcast. It will be our last podcast for a while on Sunday night, so we will be live then. But until then, enjoy your 3 days off the football. And we will see you Sunday night, immediately after the final. Take care. Bye-bye.
See you later.